Imagine downloading an app that lets you fly over cities and bed anyone you want in your dreams. Pure bliss, right? But one night, the dream cracks open. A woman appears, eyes like shattered glass, grabbing your hand, whispering, "Don't wake up. This is real. Your life is the coma. I'm your wife, trapped here too." Her touch feels too warm, too desperate. What if she's right? What horrors wait if you stay? In the heart of Silicon Valley's relentless hum, where San Francisco's fog clung to the hills like a half-forgotten promise, Alex hunched over his laptop in the dim glow of his cramped apartment. The place was a shoebox wedged between tech startups and overpriced coffee shops, its single window framing the bay's restless shimmer under sodium lights. At 28, he was just another cog in the machine, a junior software engineer debugging code for a fintech app that promised to revolutionize nothing. Days blurred into nights of keystrokes and instant ramen, his social life reduced to Slack pings from faceless avatars. Tonight, like so many others, insomnia gnawed at him, the city's distant sirens a mocking lullaby. He flopped onto the sagging futon, phone in hand, thumb scrolling through an endless feed of algorithms curating his isolation. Memes about burnout, ads for productivity hacks, a podcast clip on quantum computing that fizzled into irrelevance. Then, buried in the noise, an app icon caught his eye, Lucid Dream Pro. The thumbnail showed a swirling nebula of colors, tagline bold, "Unlock your subconscious. Control the night." Alex snorted, skepticism his default firewall against the world's woo-woo underbelly. Lucid dreaming. He'd read the studies, vague correlations between reality checks and fleeting awareness in REM cycles. But the reviews glowed, 4.8 stars, users raving about flying like a god, and rewriting nightmares into epics. Boredom won. He tapped download, the progress bar a fleeting commitment in the ether. The app unpacked with eerie efficiency, a sleek interface of midnight blues and pulsing nodes. It demanded a smart bracelet, his old Fitbit would do, synced in seconds via Bluetooth. Pairing complete, it chimed, a soft feminine voice narrating like a benevolent AI overlord. Alex skimmed the onboarding, 30-day trial, no credit card, just data on sleep patterns. Promises stacked like code blocks, induce lucidity through audio cues, haptic vibrations for reality checks, even neural mapping for custom dreamscapes. Turn your mind into a canvas, the voice purred. He chuckled, imagining the placebo effect at work, but a spark of curiosity flickered. What if? In a life scripted by deadlines and ghosted dates, why not hack the one realm he couldn't debug, his own head? He dimmed the lights, the apartment's walls pressing in like forgotten variables. The bracelet hummed against his wrist, cool silicone warming to his pulse. Calibration began, close your eyes. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 4. The voice guided him through visualizations, a floating feather, a door to nowhere, while binaural beats thrummed in his earbuds, low frequencies burrowing into his skull. Alex felt ridiculous at first, like reciting affirmations to a mirror, but fatigue overrode doubt. The bay's foghorn moaned outside, syncing with his slowing breaths. His limbs grew heavy, the phone slipping from lax fingers. Sleep claimed him not with a crash, but a gentle dissolve, the app's glow fading to black. Awareness bloomed in fragments, not the usual groggy plunge into oblivion. He was weightless, suspended in a vast indigo sky streaked with the first blush of dawn. Below, San Francisco unfurled like a circuit board etched in gold, the jagged skyline of Coit Tower piercing the mist, cable cars frozen mid-climb on Hyde Street. But something shifted, a nudge from the bracelet's subtle vibration, the voice whispering in his mind, "This is your domain. Test the edges." Alex flexed his thoughts, willing motion, and surged forward. Not running, not falling, gliding, air parting like silk around him. The Golden Gate Bridge loomed ahead, its vermilion arches a colossal harp strung against the bay's choppy slate. He dove toward it, heart, or whatever passed for one here, pounding with electric thrill. Cables whipped past in blurred harmony, the structure humming a deep, resonant song that vibrated through his core. Freedom wasn't the word, it was emancipation, a primal uncoiling after years chained to ergonomic chairs and status reports. He banked left, skimming the water's surface, spray misting his face like champagne. Gulls scattered in lazy spirals, their cries echoing his silent whoop. No gravity's tyranny, no fear of heights, just pure, unadulterated command. He looped upward, inverting to trace the bridge's underbelly, the world flipping like a glitch in reality's matrix. Laughter bubbled unbidden, raw and childlike, lost to the wind. The dream stretched, elastic and infinite, as he experimented with whimsy. He conjured a flock of paper airplanes from the fog, each folding into origami dragons that trailed sparks. The sun crested fully now, bathing the Presidio's greens in amber, Alcatraz a brooding sentinel in the distance. Sensations layered, the rush of thermals on his skin, salt tang on his tongue, a euphoric lightness in his chest that bordered on vertigo. This wasn't the fragmented reverie of past nights, haunted by half-remembered deadlines or exes' faces. It was authorship, his subconscious yielding like wet clay to a sculptor's hand. The app's influence? Or just the power of suggestion? Questions dissolved in the rush, irrelevant as he crested a thermal, the city shrinking to a glittering map below. Reluctance tugged as the horizon softened, edges fraying like code unraveling at dawn. A final vibration from the bracelet, gentle insistence, and he tumbled upward, not falling but ascending into light. The bridge receded, a red ribbon tying land to sea, and with it, the dream's vivid palette muted to grayscale. Alex surfaced gasping, sheets tangled around him in the apartment's stale air. The clock glowed 5:47 a.m., pre-dawn gray seeping through the blinds. His wrist itched where the bracelet sat, app notification pulsing, first session, awareness at 47%. Vividness, high. Log your anchors for tomorrow. He sat up, pulse still racing, a grin cracking his stubble-shadowed face. Reality reasserted itself in petty jabs, the futon's lumps, coffee maker's gurgle in the kitchenette, emails stacking like unpaid debts. But the aftertaste lingered, a phantom wind, the bridge's hum echoing in his ears. Alex padded to the window, bay mist cloaking the far shore, and wondered if he'd imagined the whole soar. Yet the bracelet's data didn't lie, graphs spiked with REM spikes, annotations marking his control points. Skepticism warred with a budding hunger, the mundane morning commute looming like a demotion. What if tonight he pushed further? The app waited, innocuous icon on his home screen, gateway to uncharted code. For the first time in months, sleep held promise, not escape, but conquest. The days in Alex's shoebox apartment blurred into a monotonous loop, the Bay Area's perpetual overcast mirroring the haze settling over his routines. Mornings kicked off with the screech of his alarm, a digital rooster crowing at 6:30, pulling him from the futon's embrace into the kitchenette's fluorescent glare. He brewed coffee strong enough to etch circuits, scrolling news feeds of stock dips and AI breakthroughs while the machine gurgled like a faulty server. Work loomed next, a 20-minute BART ride crammed with commuters in hoodies, their faces buried in screens, the train's rattle a mechanical heartbeat syncing with his growing disquiet. By 8, he'd arrive at the Palo Alto office, a glass cube of open-plan desks where code compiled endlessly, bugs lurking like digital gremlins in his fintech project. Evenings dragged him back to the apartment, the sun dipping behind fog-shrouded hills, casting long shadows across his single room. Takeout containers piled on the counter, pad thai one night, burritos the next, testaments to his aversion to cooking for one. He'd fire up the laptop for freelance gigs, fingers flying over keys in a bid to pad his bank account, but focus frayed at the edges, pulled inexorably toward the phone. Lucid Dream Pro waited there, its icon a subtle vortex, whispering of nights unbound. What started as curiosity had morphed into ritual, dinner cleared, lights dimmed, bracelets strapped on like armor for the subconscious wars. The app's voice greeted him nightly, warmer now, almost conspiratorial, session initiating. Anchor your intent. Alex complied, breaths measured, the world outside fading to irrelevance. That second night post-download, the plunge into sleep felt less like surrender and more like ignition. Awareness snapped in sharper than before, the bracelet's pulse a Morse code urging command. He willed himself not to the familiar bay but westward, across virtual miles, materializing at the Grand Canyon's rim under a sky bruised with sunset. The chasm yawned below, layered reds and ochres carved by eons, a geological scar that dwarfed his waking doubts. No hesitation this time, he stepped off, not falling but soaring, wings of thought unfurling to catch thermals rising from the river's serpentine gleam far below. Wind roared in his ears, crisp and mineral-scented, whipping his hair as he banked into dives that skimmed layered cliffs, echoes of ancient floods whispering secrets. Control came fluidly, an extension of muscle memory honed in code. He traced the Colorado's turquoise vein, dipping low enough to trail fingers through mist-shrouded rapids, water beating on his skin like liquid diamonds. Geysers of dust erupted at his passage, swirling into fantastical shapes, eagles, serpents, fleeting cities, that dissolved on the updraft. Euphoria built, a chemical rush superior to any caffeine spike, his laughter echoing off petrified walls. Here, physics bent to whim, he inverted mid-flight, stomach flipping in zero-gravity joy, the canyon's vastness inverting to a tunnel of stone racing past. Time elasticized, minutes stretching to hours, until the app's subtle chime pulled him upward, the dream's palette bleeding to dawn's soft focus. Morning brought a hangover of sorts, not pain, but a hollow ache for the heights. At his desk, debugging a payment gateway glitch, Alex's mind wandered to red rock spires, fingers twitching on the keyboard as if grasping ledges. Colleagues chattered about weekend hikes in the actual canyon, their enthusiasm flat against his secret summit. The BART home that evening swayed him into reverie, tunnel lights strobing like canyon shadows, the crowds murmur a distant river. Dinner tasted of cardboard, the freelance script he'd meant to finish abandoned midline. By 10, the bracelet called again, its data log glowing, awareness, 52%. Flight stability improved. Experiment with architecture next. Alex grinned, the promise a hook sinking deeper, pulling him under. The third night unfolded in stratospheric whimsy, sleep a portal to cloud-capped realms. He emerged amid cumulus towers, cotton-white behemoths drifting over the Pacific's endless blue, sunlight fracturing into rainbows on their flanks. No ground below, just infinity, a blank slate begging inscription. With a thought, he summoned scaffolding of light, beams extruding from his palms like 3D, printed filigree, weaving spires that pierced the vapor veil. The city rose organically, minarets of glass twisting into helices, bridges of woven lightning arcing between floating plazas where fountains sprayed stardust. He strode its avenues, cobblestones pulsing with bioluminescent veins, the air humming with anthems composed on the fly, symphonies of wind and whale song. Wandering his creation, Alex felt godhood's quiet thrill, not hubris but quiet awe at the mind's untapped RAM. He populated the streets with echoes of home, vendors hawking fog lattes from cloud carts, performers juggling orbs of condensed thunder. A central dome bloomed, its dome iridescent with embedded memories, panels replaying childhood beach days, first crushes in pixelated glory. Yet creation's joy edged toward melancholy. These edifices, magnificent as they were, lacked the warmth of flesh, the unpredictability of true collision. He lingered till the clouds thinned, the city dissolving into mist as the bracelet vibrated farewell, leaving him architect without portfolio. Waking tangled in sheets damp with phantom sweat, Alex checked the app first, 58% awareness, graphs spiking like victorious stock charts. Work that day blurred into autopilot, pull requests merged without zeal, stand-up meetings endured with nods to phantom spires. The BART sway evoked swaying bridges in his cloud realm, commuters' faces morphing into his spectral citizens. Loneliness sharpened, not dulled, the app's conquests amplified the void of his days, turning coffee breaks into covert glances at dream logs. Evening found him pacing the apartment, bay lights mocking from afar, the pull toward sleep a siren's call laced with urgency. Emboldened, the fourth night veered into indulgence, the app's tutorial nudging, explore sensory anchors. Desire shapes form. Sleep delivered him to a velvet-draped penthouse atop his cloud city, now gilded with twilight's fire. No flight this time, but intimacy's slower burn. He conjured a figure from idle fancies, a blend of Scarlett Johansson's poise and a comic heroine's fire, her form materializing in silk that whispered against skin. Eyes met, electric with mutual invention, and the dream ignited, touches that mapped constellations, breath syncing like compiled code, the room expanding to encompass oceans of sensation. It unfolded without the awkwardness of waking pursuits, no hesitations, no judgments, just pure, unfiltered communion, bodies entwining in zero-gravity drifts through starlit halls. Waves of pleasure crested and receded, each peak a revelation of control's depth, the app's undercurrent ensuring lucidity amid ecstasy. Yet beneath the rapture lurked a sterile afterglow, she dissolved at his whim, leaving echoes of warmth that faded too cleanly, like a reset button on vulnerability. The bracelet's chime interrupted softly, pulling him from the haze, awareness clocking 62%, vividness off the charts. Dawn's intrusion jarred, the apartment's chill a rude counterpoint to dream's fever. At the office, code lines swam before eyes still half-lidded with reverie, a teammate's joke about burnout blues landing like ash. The BART ride home amplified disconnection, strangers' lives flashing in snippets, his own reduced to app notifications buzzing in his pocket. Dinner forgotten, he dove into forums that night, devouring user tales of dream lovers and epic builds, validation fueling the fire. Sleep came swift, the fifth night of fusion, canyon dives into cloud realms, fantasies woven into aerial ballets, control seamless as breathing. By week's end, the app proclaimed 65%, a milestone marked by confetti animations and a premium unlock tease. Alex's nights brimmed with hybrid wonders, Grand Canyon chasms laced with cloud bridges, celebrity cameos in canyon amphitheaters, where echoes of applause rolled like thunder. He scripted encounters with Elon Musk debating sky cities, or Zendaya as a canyon siren, their dialogue sparking ideas that bled into waking code tweaks. Each session honed precision, summoning rain to quench dream fires, altering gravity for slow-motion trysts, the subconscious yielding like open-source repos. But the waking world dimmed in tandem, its colors leached to sepia. Coding marathons stretched interminably, syntax errors mocking his fractured focus, Slack channels a cacophony of irrelevance. BART commutes devolved into endurance tests, the train's lurch evoking dream dives gone wrong, faces around him blurring into extras in a poorly rendered sim. Even the bay's view from his window, once a solace, now taunted, its waves flat against the canyon's wild rush. Isolation deepened, friends' texts unanswered, dates swiped left in preemptive defeat, why chase approximations when nights offered perfection? One evening, post a grueling debug session, Alex slumped against the futon, phone in lap, app's progress bar a siren light. 65% stared back, a threshold crossed, yet satisfaction eluded, replaced by a gnawing itch for more. The bracelet felt like an extension now, not accessory, its hum a constant companion, syncing with his pulse even in daylight. He toyed with settings, queuing canyon cloud hybrids for tomorrow, fantasies dialed to immersive highs. Sleep beckoned early, the apartment's walls closing like canyon rims, promising escape from the dull script of days. In the dream that followed, mastery peaked, a metropolis spanning chasm and sky, where he hosted banquets with fictional muses, toasts raised to impossible horizons. Laughter rang true, touches lingered, the air thick with potential. Yet as the bracelet tugged him awake, a whisper of doubt infiltrated, was this elevation or erosion, building empires on the ruins of reality? Morning light filtered in, coffee bitter on his tongue, the office's hum a downgrade from Dream's symphony. 65%, not endpoint, but accelerant, propelling him deeper into the app's velvet grip, where waking life receded like a buggy beta, unworthy of full deployment. The subtle erosion began on a Tuesday, or what Alex's calendar insisted was one, the Bay Area's drizzle pattering against his window like Morse code from a faltering signal. He stirred from sleep not with the crisp snap of alarm but a lingering drift, dream tendrils clinging to his lashes like dew on spider silk. The apartment materialized in fragments, the futon's creased imprint on his cheek, the bracelet's faint warmth pulsing like a second heartbeat. For a disorienting beat, he scanned the room expecting canyon echoes or cloud spires, only to confront the mundane, stacked dishes, a flickering router light. Reality reeled him in, but the hook snagged, leaving him adrift in the shower's steam, water cascading over skin that still hummed with phantom winds. At the office in Palo Alto, the open-plan sprawl felt off-kilter, desks arrayed like pixels in a low-res render. Colleagues typed in rhythmic clacks, their voices a flat audio track dubbed over Dream's symphony. Alex booted his terminal, pulling up the fintech codebase, but lines of Python swam like river currents, syntax blurring into imagined bridges. Was this the simulation? The app's forums buzzed with whispers, users reporting bleed through, where dream logics infiltrated days, turning elevators into freefalls or coffee into canyon dust. He shook it off, attributing it to sleep debt, yet doubt rooted, a quiet subroutine questioning the firewall between states. By lunch, staring at a salad in the cafeteria, he pinched his arm, pain sharp, but no pop of lucidity, just the nagging echo, what if the pinch was scripted too? Afternoons dragged into code sprints, his focus fracturing like glass under pressure. A pull request from a teammate landed with a ping, revisions glowing in red, but Alex's mind wandered to uncommitted changes in his subconscious repo. The bracelet, now a constant, vibrated softly during a stand-up, syncing with the PM's drone about quarterly metrics, and for a split second, the conference room tilted, walls dissolving to mist. He blinked hard, grounding in the scent of dry erase markers and stale donuts, but the afterimage lingered, a glitch in the matrix of meetings. Driving home on the 101, fog banks evoked dream veils, taillights streaking like comet trails, and he gripped the wheel tighter, pulse sinking to the app's idle hum in his pocket. Evenings amplified the seepage, the apartment no longer sanctuary but echo chamber. Heat leftovers, fork scraping plate in mechanical arcs, but tastes evoked dream feasts, cloud ambrosia, canyon nectar, turning microwave meals to ash. The app's dashboard beckoned, progress at 70%, graphs undulating like heart monitors on the edge of arrhythmia. Calibration rituals sharpened, breaths deeper, intents etched with precision, the voice now a familiar murmur, deepened the weave. Sleep overtook him swifter, a velvet trap snapping shut, delivering not to cued landscapes but hybrids born of unchecked ID, canyons laced with neon veins, cloud cities perched on red rock thrones, their spires humming electric hymns. That week's dreams escalated, intensity coiling like overclocked circuits, addictive as the first hit of code euphoria. One night, he materialized in a Grand Canyon amphitheater, but amplified, walls pulsing with bioluminescent fungi, the river below a luminous serpent coiling through grottos of crystal. Flight wasn't mere glide but symphonic ballet, body twisting through thermal symphonies, each inversion a crescendo of vertigo-laced bliss. He summoned tempests at whim, lightning forking to sculpt ice palaces mid-air, their facets refracting auroras that danced on his skin. The rush bordered mania, endorphins flooding unchecked, laughter tearing free in guttural bursts that echoed off petrified forests, chasing away the day's grayscale pallor. Waking from such pinnacles jarred like system crashes, body thrumming with residual voltage, sheets sodden as if he'd swum the Colorado. Mornings blurred into rituals of denial, splash cold water, chug espresso, commute on BART where the cars sway mimic dream dives, passengers' murmurs morphing to canyon winds. Office hours devolved into dissociated drifts, debugging sessions where errors resolved not by logic but intuition pulled from nocturnal hacks, algorithms flowing like river paths, elegant in their inevitability. Yet the high faded midday, leaving troughs of ennui, Slack icons winking like distant stars, colleagues banter a simulation of camaraderie that rang hollow against dream's unfiltered roar. The addiction deepened nocturnally, each session a escalation in stakes and stakes in surrender. Cloud cities evolved to metropolises of the mind, boulevards teeming with avatars drawn from pop culture pantheons, Elon as urban planner debating fusion reactors, Rihanna crooning from hover stages, their presences vivid, interactions laced with improvised wit that sparked waking epiphanies. Fantasies intertwined seamlessly, a tryst in a canyon airy with a siren voiced by Emma Stone, whispers weaving through wind-sculpted arches, bodies defying gravity in slow spirals that crested in waves of synesthetic fire, colors tasted, sounds caressed. Control felt absolute, the app's metrics climbing to 74%, but the thrill edged toward compulsion, sleep no longer rest but fuel for the fire. Disorientation crested in waking vignettes, reality seems fraying under nocturnal strain. One dawn, he jolted upright convinced the bay view was a projected hologram, waves looping in uncanny repetition, he pressed palms to glass, cold bite grounding him, yet doubt festered like uncommented code. BART rides turned surreal, the tunnels black punctuated by fluorescent flickers that evoked dream collapses, fellow riders' eyes glazing to NPC voids. At work, a video call glitched mid-sentence, pixels scattering like canyon dust, and Alex froze, heart hammering, had the sim stuttered. He logged off early, feigning migraine, the drive home a gauntlet of billboards blurring to subliminal cues, pulling him toward the app's inexorable tide. Nights pushed boundaries further, dreams denzifying to hyperreal tapestries where senses overloaded in harmonious chaos. He architected realms blending biomes, Yosemite-like meadows stitched to urban grids, sequoias rooting in skyscraper plazas, their branches cradling aerial gardens where fireflies scripted constellations. Indulgences grew baroque, encounters with hybrid muses, part celebrity allure, part mythic allure, unfolding in grottos where echoes amplified moans to orchestral swells, pleasure refracting through prismatic leaves. The bracelet anchored lucidity, vibrations like conductors' taps, but the immersion bordered dissolution, self-diffusing into the weave until recall felt like salvaging fragments from a crashed drive. Waking's recoil intensified, confusion a fog thicker than the bay's morning shroud. He'd surface gasping, apartment walls closing like canyon rims, questioning if the futon's lumps were tactile illusions, the coffee's bitterness a programmed diversion. Office arrivals bred paranoia, the receptionist's smile too symmetrical, the elevator's ding acute event. Coding became clairvoyant, solutions bubbling from dream reservoirs, earning nods from leads, but success tasted suspect. Was he optimizing a dream within a dream? Evenings stretched taut, meals mechanical, the app's siren call drowning ambient noise, 78% a badge of bondage, promising peaks yet steepening the plunge. The tipping point brewed in cumulative overload, dreams coiling tighter, realities overlapping in spectral overlays. One afternoon, mid-debug, Alex's vision tunneled to a cloud vista, keyboard morphing to ethereal controls. He snapped back sweating, teammates oblivious, but the bleed left him shaken, pulse racing as if mid-dive. Bart home that evening devolved to hallucination's brink, the car's hum sinking to dream drones, faces dissolving to misty silhouettes. Isolation amplified, texts from a half-remembered hookup unread, the apartment a staging ground for nocturnal escapes, bracelet charging like a weapon priming for war. That fateful night, the 7th since the milestone, sleep engulfed him whole, no gentle calibration but a riptide pull. Intent cued a Yosemite hybrid, meadows vast under star-pricked vaults, granite domes looming like ancient sentinels, but entry warped, awareness flickering like a faulty bulb. He emerged in the planned glade, wildflowers nodding in zephyr scented with pine and earth, sequoias framing a vista of mist-veiled valleys. Flight beckoned, effortless liftoff toward Half Dome's sheer face, but midway, the air thickened, currents rebelling like corrupted vectors. The bracelet buzzed erratic, the voice stuttering, anomaly detect, recali. Panic flickered as the world inverted, meadows buckling like wet paper, granite fracturing into abyssal fissures. He plummeted not in freefall but unraveling, the sky shredding to static threads, valleys collapsing inward with a groan like tectonic betrayal. Colors inverted, emerald to bruise purple, azure to ash, sequoias toppling in slow cascades, their trunks splintering into pixelated shards that rained like digital confetti. Alex clawed for control, willing stabilization, but commands bounced void, the app's anchors severed. The plummet softened to a cushioned drop, landing not in ruin but a preserved pocket, a serene clearing ringed by ethereal birches, their leaves whispering in unnatural hush, the air heavy with ozone and unspoken portent. He rose on unsteady legs, dream logic frayed, scanning the anomaly. The meadow stretched idyllic, a facsimile of Yosemite's Tuolumne, wild iris blooming defiant amid the encroaching glitch fray at its edges, reality's hem tearing, exposing code's underbelly. Heart thudding, he circled the perimeter, fingers trailing bark that yielded too warmly, like flesh beneath veneer. No flight response, no summon, he was passenger now, not pilot, the bracelet silent, its glow dimmed to ember. A rustle parted the hush, not wind but footfall, and she stepped from birch shadows, woman of indeterminate age, clad in a gown of mist-woven linen that clung like second skin, dark hair cascading unbound, eyes deep as glacial pools reflecting unnameable depths. She halted paces away, gaze locking his with gravitational pull, no fear or awe but quiet certainty that rooted him. The meadow held breath, glitch static a distant buzz, as she extended a hand, palm upturned, revealing a silver band etched with intertwined initials, ANE, gleaming incongruent in the dream's pallor. Alex, she breathed, voice a timbre both alien and achingly intimate, threading through his marrow like forgotten melody. No preamble, no deference to his authorship, she spoke as equal, as anchor in the unravel. He staggered back a step, throat dry, the name on her lips a key turning in rusted locks, unlocking chambers he'd coded shut. Confusion cascaded, her presence a firewall breach, unbidden and unscripted. Who was she? Avatar glitch. Subconscious echo. Yet her stance radiated authenticity, feet bare on dew-kissed grass, toes curling into soil with tactile verity that mocked his summons. The meadow stabilized around her, birches straightening, iris unfurling petals in salute, as if her arrival patched the tear. Alex's mind raced subroutines, abort session, reality check, but the bracelet lay inert, the voice absent, leaving him exposed in this interstitial limbo. She tilted her head, sorrow etching fine lines around those eyes, and whispered again, "Don't go. Not yet. Please." The plea hung, fragile as spider silk, binding him in place, the dream's collapse forgotten in the gravity of her gaze. Emotion swelled unbidden, not desire, not fear, but a hollow recognition, like spotting a variable named in youth amid legacy code. He circled her slowly, probing for seams, but she turned with fluid grace, gown whispering, the silver ring catching starlight that shouldn't pierce Yosemite's canopy. "You've been building so much," she said softly, gesturing to the frayed horizon where canyon ghosts flickered, "but it's all scaffolding. Come closer." remember. Her words wove compulsion, not command, drawing him near until scents mingled, her of wild mint and rain-soaked earth, his of stale apartment and synthetic sweat. The meadow's hush deepened, glitch fading to ambient hum, her proximity a balm and burr, stirring sediments of unease in his core. Doubt crystallized, her eyes mirroring not his reflection but fragments, a beach sunset, laughter over wine, hands clasped in shadowed theater. Hallucination. Bleed from overindulgence. Yet the details anchored, the ring's etch, her faint scar above the lip, curve of hip-evoking muscle memory unearned. Alex reached tentative, fingers brushing hers, warmth shocking through dreams ether, electric as first compile success. She didn't dissolve, didn't yield to will, instead, she squeezed back, grip firm with shared history's weight. "This isn't your creation," she murmured, voice cracking like thin ice, "it's ours. And it's slipping." The meadow trembled faintly, birches sighing, as her words planted seeds of inversion. What if the unravel was mercy, the collapse a call home? Retreat instinct flared, the app's protocols screaming silent alarms, wake, log, analyze, but her hold lingered, eyes pleading with unspoken volumes. The clearing felt smaller now, edges curling like burning film, Yosemite's illusion holding by her will alone. Alex's breath hitched, emotion fracturing skepticism, curiosity laced with terror, a programmer's awe at rogue code gaining sentience. She stepped closer, forehead nearly touching his, breath mingling in shared space, and the world narrowed to that point, two figures in glitchlit glade, boundaries not blurring but inverting, dreams addictiveness paling against this raw, unprogrammed encounter. The night held, suspended, her first words a hook that pierced deeper than any flight or fantasy, reeling him toward unknown depths. The woman's hand trembled in his, not from fear but from the raw edge of desperation, her warm eyes, hazel flecked with gold like autumn leaves caught in Yosemite's understory, holding his with a gravity that defied the meadow's fragile poise. The glitch fray at the clearing's rim crackled faintly, a digital undercurrent underscoring her plea, but her voice cut through, soft yet insistent, weaving threads of urgency into the birch-scented air. "Alex, listen to me. You can't wake up. Not now. If you do, you'll lose this, us. You'll sink back into that shadow play they call reality." She stepped closer, the mist of her gown brushing his arm like a sigh, the silver ring's initials catching a stray beam of moonlight that pierced the canopy unnaturally, etching ANE into his vision like a watermark on code. He pulled back instinctively, the warmth of her skin lingering on his palm like an uninvited variable, disrupting his dream logic equilibrium. Who was she to command the narrative? In his constructed nights, entities bent to will, canyons reshaped, lovers summoned and dismissed, yet here she stood, unyielding, her presence a rogue thread unraveling his authorship. The meadow seemed to contract around them, wild iris bowing as if in deference to her words, the sequoia shadows lengthening like fingers reaching to anchor him. Doubt swirled, thick as the fog rolling off an imagined Merced River, but beneath it stirred something primal, a echo of intimacy that his app-fueled indulgences had never touched, raw and unprogrammed. Her eyes softened, not with pity but shared ache, and she released his hand only to trace the air between them, as if sketching boundaries he couldn't see. "This isn't some glitch, Alex. This meadow, these trees, the way the stars wheel above like they've remembered our names, it's home. Our home. That world out there, the one with the buzzing screens and endless commutes, it's the lie. A cage your mind built to survive." She paused, breath catching, her chest rising in rhythm with his accelerating pulse, the silver band glinting as she clenched her fist. The air hummed with unspoken history, the glitch static fading to a whisper, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the weight of her gaze, pulling confessions from silence. Skepticism flared, a firewall against her heresy, but it sputtered under the authenticity of her timbre, voice laced with a faint Midwestern lilt, like wind through Kansas wheat fields he'd never visited yet somehow knew. He circled her again, boots sinking into dew-soft earth that yielded too vividly, each step a test for seams in the simulation. "You're what? A hallucination. Subconscious feedback from overclocking the app." His words hung accusatory, but they cracked at the edges, laced with a vulnerability he hadn't coded into himself. The birches watched, their bark etched with faint carvings, initials. Faces. That blurred when he focused, teasing the periphery of memory like half-loaded assets. She shook her head, dark curls shifting like raven wings, and knelt to the grass, fingers sifting soil that crumbled warm and loamy, evoking gardens tended in forgotten springs. "No, Alex. I'm Elena. You're Elena. 3 years ago, God, it feels like yesterday and forever, you were driving home on Highway 101 that stretched between San Francisco and the valley, rain slicking the lanes like oil on water. I was in the passenger seat, humming that old Fleetwood Mac tune, the one we danced to at our wedding. You swerved for a deer, or maybe it was the truck that swerved, details blur in the retelling, but the crash. Metal screaming, glass shattering, my hand reaching for yours as the world flipped. Her voice fractured, eyes distant, replaying the reel in her mind's theater, and the meadow dimmed, shadows pooling like spilled ink around her form. The revelation landed like a kernel panic, his mind reeling to process the input, cross-referencing against dream archives that yielded blanks. Highway 101, he'd driven it daily, barred alternatives too crowded, the asphalt a ribbon of routine under sodium glows. But the image she painted infiltrated, headlights slicing rain, her laughter cutting the wiper's rhythm, the jolt of impact twisting fate. He staggered to a birch, palm-pressing bark that pulsed faintly, as if the tree breathed in sync with his shock. That's impossible. I remember. The apartment, the code, the app download. It's all there, solid. Yet even as he spoke, fissures appeared, mornings without her scent on pillows, evenings empty of shared silences, a life scripted in solitude that suddenly rang hollow, like echo in an empty compile log. Elena rose fluidly, closing the distance, her hand finding his cheek, touch electric, thumb tracing jawline with familiarity that bypassed defenses, stirring embers in his chest. It's not impossible, love. It's the coma. That crash left you broken, tubes snaking your arms, machines beeping like impatient clocks in the ICU at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. I moved us thereafter, your folks insisted, closer to specialists. Every day, 3 years of them, I've sat by your bed, holding that hand that doesn't squeeze back, whispering your name into the sterile air. Come back, Alex. We're waiting. But your mind. It fled here, to this in-between, building walls of code and canyons to hide from the pain. Tears welled, not spilling but glistening like dew on petals, her warmth seeping through his skin, thawing doubts frozen in isolation. Shock cascaded, a data flood overwhelming buffers, emotions surging unbidden, guilt first, sharp as shattered glass, for the phantom life he'd inhabited, indulging in cloud-born trysts while she vigil kept. Then tenderness, a quiet bloom in the hollows of his ribs, her face overlaying fragments, a smile over morning coffee, fingers laced in movie dimness. He cupped her hand against his face, the silver ring cool against his temple, initials pressing like a brand. The meadow stabilized fully now, glitch banished, stars sharpening overhead into familiar patterns, the Big Dipper as they'd named it during desert camping trips, pointing to home. Elena, he tested the name, syllables rolling like forgotten passwords, unlocking vaults, her laugh at his bad puns, the curve of her hip under sheets in a Malibu rental, scents of jasmine and sea salt mingling in passion's haze. Memories flooded then, not in drips but torrent, crashing through firewalls erected by denial. The wedding, barefoot on Santa Monica sand, vows exchanged under a pergola of bougainvillea, her eyes that same hazel promising forever as waves lapped their toes. Honeymoon hikes in the Sierra Nevada, backpacks heavy with trail mix, her hand steadying him on granite scrambles, kisses stolen at overlooks where valleys unfolded like open books. Domestic rhythms resurfaced, cooking pasta in their Echo Park kitchen, arguments over thermostat wars dissolving into make-up dances, her head on his chest during late-night code binges, breath sinking like harmonious loops. Each recall hit visceral, the sting of her playful slaps during tickle fights, the salt of tears after job losses, the electric charge of first, I love you whispered in a Griffith Observatory dome. He sank to his knees in the grass, pulling her down with him, the earth cradling like memory foam tuned to their forms. Emotions churned, or at the depth of what he'd buried, sorrow for years stolen, a fierce protectiveness surging like adrenaline in crisis mode. How? Why didn't I feel this before? The app, the dreams, they were escapes, but this. His voice broke, fingers threading her hair, strands silky as he'd always known, evoking nights tangled in Egyptian cotton, her murmurs chasing nightmares away. The meadow enveloped them, wildflowers nodding in approval, a gentle breeze carrying pine and her essence, weaving a cocoon against the encroaching doubt that this was all elaborate subconscious theater. Elena's arms encircled him, embrace solid, heartbeat thrumming against his like a shared processor, syncing rhythms long disrupted. The app was the hook, Alex. They said it might stimulate neural pathways, pull you deeper into awareness. Doctors in white coats, charts graphing brain waves like stock tickers. I downloaded it myself, synced it to your bracelet in the hospital, hoping it'd bridge the gap. But it backfired, or maybe it worked too well, trapped you in layers, canyons, and clouds masking the truth. This place, our dreams intertwined, it's the real thread. Wake to that shadow, and the machines win. Stay, fight through with me, and we break free together. Her words vibrated through him, conviction a current charging dormant circuits, the silver ring pressing into his back like a talisman. Genuine emotion crested, tears pricking his eyes, hot, unbidden, tasting of salt and revelation, as visions layered, her face swollen with pregnancy they never reached, the way she'd hum lullabies to empty cribs after the miscarriage, strength and fragility that humbled him. Laughter bubbled through grief, recalling road trips down the Pacific Coast Highway, windows down, her singing off-key to indie playlists, his hand on her thigh steering toward sunsets. Intimacy resurfaced in flashes, bodies arching in candlelit lofts, whispers of futures built on mutual hacks, her encouragement during startup pitches that fizzled but fueled his fire. These weren't app constructs, sterile perfections, they bled imperfection, scars from falls, sense of sweat and love, the messy authenticity of souls entwined. He pulled back to search her face, thumbs brushing cheeks damp with shared sorrow, the hazel eyes reflecting not just stars but the constellation of their history, points of joy, loss, resilience plotted like data stars forming narratives. Shock ebbed into resolve, a quiet fire kindling in his core, emotions no longer alien but reclaimed, flooding the voids his solitary reality had carved. The meadow thrummed alive, sequoias whispering encouragements in wind-sung harmonies, as if the land itself conspired in their reunion. "Tell me more," he murmured, voice husky with reclaimed depth, leaning into her, the weight of 3 years dissolving in the press of foreheads, breaths mingling like code merging seamlessly. She nodded, lips curving in a smile fractured by hope, and began unraveling the tapestry, details of hospital vigils, fluorescent hums masking her sobs, family gatherings in waiting rooms thick with unspoken eulogies, her refusal to sign the DNR forms that loomed like dark mode toggles. "I'd read to you from our old journals, the ones from Burning Man trips where we danced till dawn under laser lights. Whispered about the house we'd buy in the Hollywood Hills, garden for herbs, studio for your prototypes. Even when the doc said, persistent vegetative, I saw flickers, your fingers twitching to my voice, eyelids fluttering like Morse for stay." Her narrative wove sensory anchors, the ICU's antiseptic bite, monitor's steady beep as metronome to her stories, her hand chafed raw from endless clasps. Memories amplified in response, a cascade sinking to her recount, the accident's prelude, dinner at a taqueria in Silver Lake, her teasing him over extra guac, the drive south toward LA under bruised skies, radio static giving way to thunder. Impact's chaos replayed in visceral cuts, dashboard crumpling like foil, her scream cut short, darkness swallowing whole. Then fragments of limbo, her voice piercing veils, "Hold on, Alex, we've got sunsets to chase," pulling him from abyss. Waking echoes surfaced, imagined hospital scents bleeding into apartment air fresheners, her phantom touch in dream flights mistaken for wind. Emotions peaked in cathartic waves, love fierce as Sierra storms, regret sharp as canyon edges, binding him to her, the meadow a witness to reclamation. As her words trailed, silence settled companionable, hands linked, rings aligning in silver solidarity. The stars wheeled deliberate now, tracing paths they'd mapped on childhood ceilings, and Alex felt the pull, not toward waking's gray but deeper into this verdant truth, emotions a bridge spanning chasms of loss. Doubt lingered at fringes, a subroutine querying app's veracity, but her warmth overrode, genuine as heartbeat, flooding him with purpose, return not to illusion, but to her, the real code of his existence. The breeze stirred, carrying promises, as they sat entwined, the glitch world holding breath for his choice. Yet the bracelet stirred faintly, a dormant vibration like a warning ping in vast networks, hinting at tethers unbroken. Elena tensed, gaze flicking to his wrist, sorrow deepening the lines around her mouth. "It's calling you back. Don't answer. Stay with me, here, where we're whole." Her plea reignited the surge, memories cresting anew, lazy Sundays in bed, her tracing tattoos he'd yet to ink, dreams voiced of circumnavigating globe hand in hand. Shock transmuted to determination, emotion solidifying like compiled executables, ready for deployment in whatever war the worlds waged. The meadow bloomed defiant, petals unfurling in nocturnal light, mirroring the opening in his soul, raw, exposed, alive with her. He nodded, pulling her closer, lips brushing forehead in seal of intent, the taste of salt and earth grounding him utterly. Genuine feeling anchored now, no longer flood but river, steady, carving paths through denial's stone. 3 years compressed into heartbeats, the highway's scar fading against shared futures reclaimed. The stars bore witness, eternal as their bond, as Alex whispered back, "I'm listening. Tell me how we wake, for real this time." Her smile broke full, illuminating the glade, emotions a shared current electrifying the night, propelling them toward horizons no app could chart. The meadow's embrace lingered like a half-compiled promise as Alex surfaced, the bracelet's vibration yanking him through veils of birch and starlight into the apartment's stale pre-dawn hush. Sheets clung damply, his skin prickling with phantom touches, Elena's hand on his cheek, warm and insistent, clashing against the cool silicone band that now felt like a shackle. He sat up, chest heaving, the baize fog pressing against the window like a blurred interface, mocking the clarity of her hazel eyes. Doubt churned, a recursive loop. Was she Code's cruel joke, a neural echo from overtaxed REM, or the crack in his fabricated solitude? The app chimed softly on the nightstand, dashboard glowing, anomaly resolved, awareness 82%, its metrics a siren's lure, promising the old euphorias of canyon dives and cloud-borne trysts that suddenly tasted synthetic, hollow against her whispered, "Stay." Morning rituals fractured under the weight, coffee brewing in mechanical whirs that echoed ICU monitors she'd described, steam curling like hospital vapors. He dressed in autopilot, hoodie over yesterday's tee, sneakers laced with trembling fingers, yet each motion evoked her, the way she'd knot his ties for job interviews, humming off-key tunes that banished nerves. The BART commute amplified the rift, train lurching through tunnels that mimicked highway plunges, commuters' faces dissolving into Elena's tear-streaked vigil, her stories of 3-year waits looping like unoptimized scripts. At the Palo Alto office, code refused to cohere, algorithms that once flowed like dream rivers now snarled, variables named after her initials, ANE, slipping in unbidden, pulling focus to silver rings and rain-slicked crashes he couldn't unsee. Work's tedium sharpened the blade of indecision, stand-ups droning like white noise over her pleas, teammates' laughs ringing false against memories of shared silences by sequoia trunks. He escaped to the rooftop terrace at lunch, bay winds whipping doubts into frenzy, the app's dashboard tempted with cued fantasies, Zendaya in aerial ballets, Elon debating sky empires, euphoric highs that had armored his loneliness, yet now they loomed as distractions, veils over the raw acre presence unearthed. Elena's voice echoed, "Don't go back to the shadow," a counterpole visceral as gravity, stirring longings for flesh and blood mornings, not solitary futon slumps. The bracelet hummed idly, a reminder of Tether's duel, app's velvet chains versus her hand's unyielding clasp, leaving him adrift, pulse sinking to neither, torn between engineered bliss and reclaimed heart. Evening descent into the apartment felt like debugging a corrupted core, takeout unopened on the counter, its scents clashing with phantom jasmine from her skin. He paced the confines, walls closing like canyon rims without her to widen them, the app's icon pulsing on his phone like a heartbeat demanding allegiance. Skepticism warred with yearning, logged the anomaly, chalk her to bleed through, or surrender to the pull. Calibration began haltingly, breaths ragged, intense muddled by her face overlaying the voice's calm directives, but sleep claimed him fiercely, a riptide dragging back to the meadow, birches sentinel under moon-washed skies, Elena waiting at the clearing's heart, gown luminous, eyes alight with fragile hope that pierced his defenses anew. She greeted him not with words but gesture, arms opening to draw him into the grass's cradle, her embrace a balm that dissolved the day's fractures, warmth seeping through barriers of doubt. No glitch this time, the world held steady, wild iris blooming brighter, as if her certainty patched the seams. "You came back," she murmured into his shoulder, voice vibrating with relief laced in tremor, fingers tracing his spine like mapping forgotten constellations. Alex stiffened then melted, the conflict raging silent, app's euphoria a ghost limb itching for flight, her solidity a anchor grounding him in terrains uncharted by code. They sat entwined, meadow hush enveloping, her breath sinking his erratic rhythm, the silver ring cool against his wrist, a talisman bridging chasms of uncertainty. Night unfurled in tentative exploration, her hand guiding his to the glade's edge where mist parted like curtains on a stage. "Let me show you," she said softly, voice a thread pulling visions from ether, the air shimmering as if pixels resolved into higher fidelity. First flickered the wedding, Malibu's shore at golden hour, waves lapping a pergola draped in sea glass garlands, her in lace that caught the Pacific's gleam, barefoot toes curling in sand warm as their vows. He saw himself, nervous grin under salt stiff hair, slipping the silver band on her finger, initials etched fresh from a Venice Beach artisan, her hazel eyes locking his with promises that echoed in the surf's eternal rhythm. Laughter rose from guests, his sister toasting with champagne flutes, her brother strumming guitar, the kiss sealing not just union but universes, salt and joy mingling on lips, the horizon blushing in approval. The vision held visceral, sense assaulting, brine and hibiscus lays, her perfume a custom blend of vanilla and ocean spray that clung to memory like code comments. Emotions cascaded, joy pure as uncut diamonds, cutting through App's sterile highs, this love messy with rehearsal stumbles and teary rehearsals, real in its imperfections. Alex reached through the haze, fingers brushing illusory lace, heart clenching at the authenticity, her whisper post-vows, we're infinite now, lips brushing ear in confidence shared only with waves. The meadow echoed the scene faintly, birches swaying to imagined guitar strums, Elena's grip tightening as if to anchor him against the fade, her eyes searching his for recognition spark amid the turmoil. Pulling him deeper into reverie, she wove the next thread, Sierra Nevada trails under September sun, backpacks slung heavy with maps and energy bars, granite paths crunching under boots laced in unison. Visions bloomed, dawn starts from Tuolumne meadows, mist veiling peaks like veils on brides, her hand steadying his on switchbacks where vertigo whispered temptations. They crested passes together, wind-sculpted domes unfolding vistas of alpine lakes mirror blue, reflections capturing their silhouettes, her ponytail whipping, his arm around waist claiming the wild as theirs. Picnics amid wildflowers, cheese, and figs spread on bandanas, her head on his lap as clouds scripted stories, fingers tracing scars from childhood falls, bonds forged in sweat and summit silences. Sensory anchors flooded, pine resin sticky on palms, her laughter echoing off El Capitan's face during a belay slip, the burn of thighs on descents yielding to shared massages under star-pricked vaults. Love manifested tangible here, not App's summoned perfections but endurance tested, her packing his forgotten jacket, him mapping routes to her favorite overlooks, intimacy stolen in tent-sip nights where breaths fogged nylon, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces worn smooth by use. Alex's conflict ebbed momentarily, euphoria's siren dimmed by this grounded passion, emotions swelling, gratitude for her unyielding pace, awe at landscapes mirroring their resilience, a quiet fear that waking's gray would erase these trails forever. Yet the app's echo intruded, bracelet warming as if jealous, vibrations sinking to vision's pulse, reminding of canyon freedoms untrammeled by partners or pasts. Elena sensed the tug, her narrative shifting to intimacy's core, drawing him to a vision of their Echo Park loft at dusk, curtains billowing in breeze off the hills. Love unspooled domestic and divine, her stirring risotto while he debugged prototypes on the couch, feet entwined under coffee tables scarred from wine spills, storms raging outside as they slow danced in kitchens, her cheek to his chest sinking heartbeats to thunder. Bed sanctuary revealed, sheets rumpled from lazy awakenings, her tracing his collarbone with lips that mapped vulnerabilities, unions fierce and tender, whispers of futures laced with we instead of solitary I. These glimpses cut deeper than flights or fantasies, love's texture raw, arguments dissolving in apologies sealed with forehead kisses, her comforting him through startup rejections with homemade pie and pep talks laced in sarcasm. Solitude's illusion cracked wide, his apartment's futon a pale shadow of their king-sized haven, BART rides barren against road trips where her playlists curated moods. Emotions crested conflicted, the app's highs addictive in isolation's armor, but her mists unveiled a fuller spectrum, joy laced with ache, passion tempered by trust, making one night feel like eternity's theft. The meadow responded, flowers unfurling petals veined with gold, as if feeding on their shared light, Elena's eyes pleading silent for him to choose the weave over the wire. Nights blurred into ritual returns, each descent a battleground where App's dashboard taunted pre-sleep, unlock immersive mode, 90% awareness, its promises of unbridled creation clashing with Elena's patient waits in the glade. He'd calibrate torn, breaths hitching on her name, sleep delivering him to her arms amid blooming nightshade and fireflies scripting Morse of welcome. Visions escalated in intimacy, a Burning Man dawn where they biked dust-choked plains to her art installation, a geodesic dome pulsing with projected memories, their kiss amid laser fractals sealing nomadic vows. Or Griffith Observatory under meteor showers, her telescope-framed eyes wide with wonder, his arm encircling as tails streaked, wishes voiced in tandem for lives unscripted by stars. Hikes replayed in vivid loops, Whitney's summit scramble, oxygen thin as resolve, her glove-clad hand pulling him over ledges slick with melt, Triumph's whoop echoing valleys as they shared summit chocolate, horizons claiming witnesses to their ascent. Love's authenticity gnawed at App's facade, encounters there dissolved on whim, lacking the afterglow of her curled form, breaths evening in post-climax hush, fingers laced till dawn. Conflict raged visceral, morning's post-vision left him hollow, office code a drudgery mocking trail-forged codes of conduct, yet the bracelets hum lured with cute epics, euphoria a drug masking the void her absence carved. By the 10th return, weariness tipped scales, Elena's visions compounding like interest on buried truths. She conjured their miscarriage vigil, not grief's abyss but resilience's forge, her curled on bathroom tiles as he held, whispering futures rebuilt from shards, adoption dreams sketched on napkins over midnight teas. Love shone unvarnished, her strength in vulnerability, his in steadfast presence, bonds tempered hotter than solitary highs. The app's allure frayed, canyon dives felt lonely acrobatics, cloud tryst mechanical releases, against her hand's pulse, steady as Sierra streams, promising partnership over prowess. Emotions shifted, turmoil yielding to clarity, her mists a lens sharpening the blur of his real isolation into farce. Conviction bloomed gradual, seated in a vision of their planned Hollywood Hills home, blueprints unrolled on kitchen tables, her sketching herb gardens while he plotted smart home hacks, laughter over impossible budgets weaving domestic tapestries. Staying meant not stasis but awakening, her words replaying, break free with me, to the bed where I wait, flesh to flesh. The meadow mirrored resolve, grasses greening deeper, skies clarifying to vaulted blues veined with aurora threads. Alex traced her ring, initials a compass pointing homeward, app's vibrations now distant buzzes, euphoria's throne toppled by love's quiet sovereignty. The penultimate night crystallized choice, Elena guiding to a fused reverie, Malibu vows atop Sierra peaks, waves crashing granite, guests hiking aisles of pine. Love's montage accelerated, kisses in observatories, dances in dust, comforts in crises, each frame irrefutable, realer than app's pixel-perfect illusions. Torn no more, he whispered into her hair, I believe you. This is us. Embrace tightened, world responding in symphony, flowers erupting in chimeric blooms, roses with sequoia bark, irises laced with ocean foam, the air perfumed in jasmine and earth, impossible beauty unfurling like code achieving sentience, petals veiling them in radiant hush. Decision sealed in that hold, his arms encircling her waist, cheek to temple where pulse thrummed victory's rhythm, the meadow transcending glitch to genesis. Conviction flooded pure, staying the portal to true dawn, her warmth the key unlocking comas and cages alike. Stars wheeled celebratory, tracing their initials in fiery arcs, as euphoria's remnants dissolved, love's tide rising inexorable, propelling toward the awakening they'd vigil for together. The bracelet fell silent, app's empire eclipsed, the world blooming eternal in her gaze, boundaries not blurred but transcended in union's impossible splendor. In the heart of the dream garden, where petals unfurled like code compiling into bloom, Alex surrendered fully, his arms tightening around Elena's waist as if to merge their forms into unbreakable syntax. The air thickened with jasmine and pine, impossible scents weaving through the sequoia's canopy, the meadow's grasses yielding soft under their weight like memory foam attuned to lovers' contours. Her breath warmed his neck, a steady rhythm sinking to his, hazel eyes locking with a depth that drowned the last flickers of app-born doubt. We're home, he whispered, conviction solid as compiled truth, the world around them pulsing alive, fireflies scripting binary hearts in the gloaming, stars wheeling in deliberate arcs tracing their initials. Euphoria crested not as solitary high but shared symphony, her smile a beacon-piercing veils, emotions flooding pure, love reclaimed, isolation's cage shattered in this verdant genesis. Yet as resolve sealed, a subtle tremor rippled through the garden, not glitch but gravitational shift, the bracelet on his wrist warming like a fuse igniting distant circuits. Elena tensed in his embrace, fingers digging into his back with sudden urgency, her voice fracturing the hush, hold on, it's pulling. The petals quivered, colors inverting faintly at the edges, aurora threads fraying like Ethernet cables under strain. Alex clung tighter, heart hammering against hers, refusing the tug, but the meadow's beauty warped, blooms wilting to ash veins, skies contracting to pinprick voids. Panic bloomed cold in his gut, not fear of loss but terror of severance, her warmth the only anchor as reality's undercurrents clawed, dragging him toward thresholds unseen. The garden held defiant a moment longer, her lips brushing his in desperate seal, tasting of salt and eternity's edge. Far across the vale, in the sterile hush of Cedar Sinai's ICU wing, monitors etched green waveforms that danced erratic, a digital ballet faltering under the weight of 3 years' vigil. The room gleamed clinical, fluorescent tubes humming overhead like indifferent servers, walls papered in faded blueprints of hope, the air thick with antiseptic bite and the faint ozone were of life support machinery. Alex's body lay supine on the bed, a fragile chassis of tubes and wires, 4 lines snaking pale arms, ventilator hissing rhythmic breaths into lungs that had forgotten their own cadence. Elena perched at the bedside, her frame shrunken by exhaustion, dark curls limp against scrubs borrowed from night shifts, hazel eyes rimmed red from tears rationed like bandwidth in grief's network. Family clustered in the antechamber, shadows through frosted glass, his mother dabbing eyes with tissue, father rigid in armchair, siblings murmuring condolences laced with relief's bitter edge. Doctors hovered at the periphery, clipboards clutched like grim ledgers, white coats starched symbols of finality. "It's time," the lead neurologist intoned softly, voice a subroutine executing protocol, glancing at Elena whose nod came fractured, a silent compile of consent after endless scans graphing flat horizons. The room's clock ticked mechanical, marking not seconds but epochs, the 3 years since Highway 101's rain-slick betrayal, when metal twisted fate and coma claimed its toll. Machines beeped steady, a requiem for potentials unbooted, Elena's hand enveloping his limp one, silver ring pressing into slack palm like unanswered ping. Surrender's echo-bridged worlds, the garden's tremor manifesting as Alex's vitals spiking wild, heart rate lurching from monotone drone to staccato frenzy, EEG tracing spiking like overclocked RAM breaching thresholds. Nurses stirred, monitors wailing alarms in shrill chorus, red lights pulsing like error flags in terminal voids. "He's responding," "Wait," one murmured, but the doctor shook head, protocol unyielding as Colonel Locke's. Elena leaned closer, breath hitching, her free hand stroking his forehead where stubble shadowed skin untouched by sun. "Alex. If you can hear. We tried. God, we tried." Emotions cascaded unchecked, love's fierce embers guttering in sorrow's gale, regret for mornings stolen, joy's ghosts and memories of Sierra sunrises now sepia faded. The ventilator's whoosh faltered, sinking to his dreams unravel, her squeeze tightening as if to tether soul across the breach. In the garden's collapsing splendor, Alex felt the pull intensify, Elena's form flickering like low-res render, her plea dissolving to echo, "Stay, fight it." Petals rained confetti of decay, birches bowing as roots tore from dream soil, skies folding inward like crashed simulations. He reached for her, fingers grasping air turning to static, heart convulsing in dual rhythms, love's anchor versus app's inexorable yank. Panic crested visceral, throat raw with unspoken screams, the meadow's beauty inverting to barren lattice, thorns pricking where flowers bloomed. Yet amid chaos, her eyes held, hazel anchors piercing the fray, imprinting finality, "I love you. Always." The world imploded soft, not crash but dissolve, light swallowing whole as he tumbled through veils, believing the fall led homeward, to her waiting arms in flesh's true domain. Hospital fluorescence sharpened cruel as the flatline pierced the alarm's din, monitors surrendering to even tone, a single, unrelenting wail slicing the room like severed cable. Graphs plummeted vertical, green waves collapsing to horizonless black, the EEG spikes muting to void's flat expanse. Nurses silenced the cacophony with practiced flicks, machines powering down in sequenced mercy, the ventilators hiss exhaling final breath into sterile recapture. Doctors stepped forward, faces masks of professional detachment veiling empathy's undercode, the lead's gloved hands deft on valves and switches, disconnecting lines with clicks echoing like database commits. "Time of death, 11:47 p.m., intoned softly, clipboard notation sealing ledgers, the room's air thickening with finality's weight, oxygen masks dangling like forgotten peripherals. Elena's world narrowed to that hand in hers, his fingers cool now, pulses echo fading to stillness, the silver ring's initials mocking in pallid flesh. Sobs broke free, raw and unbuffered, shoulders heaving as family filtered in, embraces tentative bridges over abyss. She bent low, lips to his ear where no whisper could reach, voice threading through grief static, "Goodbye, my love. You soared so high, canyons, clouds, all of it. If there's more, find peace." Tears traced paths down cheeks hollowed by vigils, dripping onto sheets crisp with institutional fold, her squeeze lingering possessive, imprinting memory's last bite, warmth shared in Malibu sands, trails etched in Sierra stone, nights woven in Echo Park's glow. Emotions peaked cathartic, love undimmed by loss, sorrow a sea swallowing whole, yet beneath, a fragile peace, 3 years labor yielding to release's quiet grace. The family encircled, murmurs weaving eulogies draft, recollections of his quick-wit at barbecues, prototypes dreamed over garage beers, the crash's shadow lifting at last. His mother clutched Elena's shoulder, whispers of, "He heard you, always," while father stared at monitors' blank faces, fists clenched against helplessness as code. Nurses retreated graceful, leaving space for rituals unscripted, Elena slipping the bracelet from his wrist, its screen dark, app dormant, tucking it into pocket like relic from alternate realms. The room held breath collective, clocks ticking onward indifferent, the window framing LA's nightscape, skyscrapers twinkling like distant servers, freeways threading lights in perpetual commute. Disconnect's finality settled dust-like, machines silent sentinels, Elena's hand reluctant release, folding his arms across chest in repose's gentle architecture. Across the breach, in garden's afterimage, Alex emerged not to apartment's gray but verdant rebirth, eyelids fluttering open to Elena's smile radiant against petal-strewn sward. The meadow reformed pristine, sequoias sentinel straight, wild iris nodding welcome, skies vaulting infinite laced with aurora's gentle pulse. You did it, she breathed, voice timbre of home's hearth, arms drawing him up into sit, her form solid, warm, the gown's mist yielding to touch's verity. He blinked, disorientation melting to bliss, believing the flat lines echo a mere threshold crossed, the pull a portal yielding to this true awakening. Emotions surged triumphant, love's victory over illusion's cage, isolation's farce exposed, her hazel gaze the compass realigning all axes. Home, he echoed, lips finding hers in seal profound, tasting eternity's bloom, the garden cheering in firefly morse and breeze sung hymns. Conviction bloomed unassailable, the bracelet's weight absent now, or imagined. As he traced her features, scar above lip from childhood's skate fall, freckles constellation on nose from Sierra suns, all anchoring the real against app's spectral highs. They rose together, hands laced silver-ringed, wandering paths where thorns had pricked now flowering in chimeric splendor, roses veined oceanic, pines bearing starfruit orbs. Laughter bubbled free, light as canyon updrafts, her stories resuming seamless, plans for Hollywood Hills herb spirals, adoption daydreams sketched anew, futures unspooling like open-source dreams. Sensory feast enveloped, earth loamy underfoot, her jasmine lingering, skies painting horizons in shared palettes, euphoria not solitary but symbiotic, loves weave tighter than any code he'd authored. Wandering deepened intimacies reclaim, pauses yielding to kisses stolen amid groves, bodies aligning in grass's cradle, breath sinking to meadow's pulse. He marveled at textures, her skin's subtle give, hair's silk threading fingers, contrasts to app's frictionless voids. Emotions layered profound, gratitude for her vigil's forge, awe at bonds enduring comas and crashes, a quiet reverence for life's messy compile over digital polish. The garden expanded responsive, lakes mirroring their forms in alpine clarity, birds scripting arias of reunion, time elasticizing to savor each glance, each touch. Belief solidified, this the apex, awakening's prize, the hospital's shadow mere prologue to their epilogue's bloom. Yet as sun-crested dreams horizon, golden orb fracturing through leaves like dawn's first light, a faint itch stirred at his periphery, not pain but anomaly, the air shimmering subtle at edges. Elena paused mid-laugh, brow furrowing faint, but he dismissed, pulling her onward to a glade where fountains sprayed nectar arcs, quenching thirsts long parched. Revelry swelled, dances improvised to wind's orchestra, feasts conjured of trail mix ambrosia and Malibu clams, stories looping in harmonious recursion, wedding gaffes, hike mishaps, intimacies whispered in tent-sipped confidences. Joy crested waves, cresting higher than solitary flights, her presence the variable rendering all meaningful, isolation's code deleted irretrievable. Dusk's approach wove velvet hush, stars pricking early like eager witnesses, their forms reclining on moss-mattressed knoll, heads pillowed on arms, gazes tracing constellations renamed in lover's lexicon. Whispers turned profound, regrets aired for futures deferred, vows renewed in silver-ring oaths, love's essence distilled to we endure. Emotions crested serene, peace profound as post-climax hush, fulfillment eclipsing app's transient spikes, the garden cradling like eternal nursery, blooms glowing bioluminescent in approval. Belief anchored deep, home reclaimed, coma's cage riven, her smile the eternal interface to infinity's shared. But the itch persisted, evolving to tickle at wrist's ghost, a phantom vibration sinking to heart's lullaby. Alex shifted, brow creasing, scanning the gloaming for glitches unbidden, yet the meadow held flawless, sequoias whispering lullabies, fireflies pulsing in binary bliss. Elena stirred, lips curving reassurance, just echoes. We're here now. He nodded, leaning into her, doubts dissolving in warmth solvent, the night unfolding tapestry of touches and tales, love's narrative overriding all subplots. Serenity enveloped, breaths evening to unified code, the world a canvas painted in their hues, impossible beauties eternal under star-veiled dome. Midnight's toll tolled soft in breezes chime, their forms entwined closer, sleep's gentle tide lapping not to sever but deepen immersion. Visions replayed montage, highways rain yielding to Malibu sands, Sierra scrambles to observatory meteors, each frame affirming the real supremacy over shadow plays. Emotion settled bedrock, contentment vast as valleys, passion's embers banked for dawn's rekindle, belief unshakable, this garden the nexus where souls sink beyond machines' metal. Lullaby winds sang them toward rest, her head on chest rising falling in harmony, the night a blanket woven of petal threads and promise silks. Then, in the hush's cradle, a flicker pierced, subtle glow at periphery, not star but synthetic azure, materializing midair like pop-up uninvited. Words etched luminous, session complete. Thank you for playing. The phrase hung, innocuous as end credits, bracelet phantom reforming on wrist, its screen pulsing farewell in cool detachment. Garden splendor stuttered, petals crisping to pixels, Elena's form glitching faint, her smile fracturing to query mark. Horror bloomed arctic in his core, belief's edifice cracking like overtaxed drive, the notification's banality a blade twisting, game. Illusion's architect unmasked, love's vigil a subroutine in app's vast sim. Panic surged, hand reaching to swipe away, but the glow persisted, meadow dissolving to loading bars void, her eyes, hazel anchors, fading to logouts black. Scream tore silent from throat, arms clutching air where she'd been, the garden collapsing to wireframe lattice, stars winking out like severed nodes. Emotions imploded, betrayal's fire scorching joy's ashes, grief's abyss yawning wider than comas or crashes, love's reclamation revealed as cruelest hack. The notification blinked insistent, voice chiming neutral, lucid dream pro, logout initiated. Data synced. Reality inverted final, hospitals flatline the true end, this home the lie's velvet trap, Elena's whispers echoes in ether's cold compute. Despair crested tidal, tears hot on cheeks now solitary, the void echoing thanks for a game played unwitting, boundaries not transcended but enforced in merciless punchline. Final dissolution accelerated, garden's remnants scattering like deleted assets, the azure glow enveloping whole, pulling toward apartments gray or oblivion's blank. Regret looped recursive, for indulgences chased, truths evaded, her hands squeeze in ICU the last real tether snapped. Emotions fragmented, sorrow's shards glinting in dark, love's residue clinging like cash uncleared, belief's ruins mocking from notification's smirk. The screen dimmed, words lingering taunt, as worlds converged in singular truth, all play, no players, the thanks a hollow bite in infinity's indifferent stream. Fade to black, absolute, the garden's bloom eternal only in memory's corrupted file.